FM K293 CF Moreno Valley.
Welcome to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Great to be back for another week. We are on 1050 AM, 106.5 FM all over the inland and the Los Angeles area. If you miss us live on the radio, catch us on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, or Android. Look for the Building Solid Foundations channel app. It's free to you. We're on multiple podcast platforms, probably on your favorite podcast platform. We're also up on YouTube as well. So check us out and tune in every week. Always interesting discussions. And today is no exception. Today I've got a guest who I've known for the last, I want to say, probably 7-8 years. Dia Hunter. Dia Hunter is an entrepreneur, a leader, and an educator. I work with him at New School of Architecture and Design, where he works with the Masters of Construction Management program as one of our instructors. He also teaches at the Stevens Institute of Technology in New Jersey in their construction management program. He lives and works his other job in Atlanta, Georgia, where he runs a residential remodeling and rehabilitation company. And he also serves on the Planning Commission as a commissioner in his local community, where they oversee planning and zoning affairs for the public hearings, which is a very interesting side that most people don't consider when they're doing projects, that your friends and neighbors do get some say in what you're doing if you're doing anything major. So Dia, welcome to Building Solid Foundations. It's great to have you.
Well, thank you for having me, Steve.
All right, so I know you obviously from the education side, but I want to first get into more of the industry side. As you know, even though I'm not really an academic. I'm an accidental educator, but I do oversee those programs for a new school. But my real passion is the industry. I love the built environment profession. Working as a general contractor and as a construction manager, and I'm fascinated with the engineering side, even though I'm not smart enough to understand a lot of it. And I love the architecture side, even though I'm not creative enough to do very much of it. I always find it fascinating. And I love the material supply side is always interesting, what's going on. I love expos. So I'm going to get into a little residential remodeling, which is what you do. That's your main business. That's your bread and butter. And you've been doing it for a long time. So share with us your background. How did you get into it, and what type of work do you do?
Okay, so I can say that I probably accidentally also stumbled on residential remodeling. My background, as far as education is concerned, I have a master's degree from Georgia Tech in building construction and facility management. And I kind of split my time when I was in graduate school between the residential program and the commercial program because, like many other students, I didn't know which side I wanted to go in. And upon graduating, I took a job working with Turner Construction, large construction company, nationwide company in the Atlanta market. And I had nothing but positive experiences working in commercial construction.
Now you were doing the field superintending, is that right?
Yes.
And that's for people that don't understand. There's a two-headed beast that runs construction projects. There's the project manager, which is the administrative legal side sort of thing, and then there's the superintendent, which is the on-site coordination and really getting what's on the plans into the ground and up, which is very hands-on. To me, that's the more fascinating part. I've spent more time in project management, but I love the site.
Yeah, the site side is the side where I think my love for subcontractors probably came in because there are unique personalities that you have to manage, and they are a ton of subcontractors on any given project. And so you develop these relationships with these people, and then eventually you see them on other job sites, and those relationships really carry you far. And and while I was in commercial construction in the evenings, I would teach some as an adjunct at a school called Westwood College.
Oh yeah.
And they had a campus in downtown Atlanta. And so I did a little adjunct thing. And I was like, I really love teaching too. So I was a little torn between, doing the work in the field and also teaching it in the classroom. And ultimately, I decided to go in the classroom full time. And so I left commercial construction. And as I started teaching full time, I missed construction. And so I think I'm gonna go back, but I wanted to also go back as an entrepreneur. And so I started in my own home, Steve. You know, I said, I have an unfinished basement, and I said, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to build it out. And so I took all my measurements, created my as built. And then from there, I just went in and laid out a layout that I thought would work for me. And in the process, um, after I completed that work, some people saw the work that I did and they said, "Hey, would you mind doing my basement?" and and I said, sure. And then that actually just spiraled into, $1 million residential remodeling business.
That's great. And
So
yeah, and of course, if you, it's interesting because a lot of people kind of do the do-it-yourself thing. But when you actually have knowledge, a basic knowledge of building design, how structures work, building engineering and construction, and you understand trade contractors and you understand supplies, where to get the materials, supplies, it makes a world of difference. As opposed to I'm an accountant who is doing a little job at home and I'm limited to what's at Home Depot. So yeah,
yeah,
it makes
so
a big difference.
so some of my more challenging clients are clients who believe that they could do the project themselves,
Yes.
obviously. Um, but and then some of the best clients that I've ever had, they have an idea of what they want their project to look like. They just don't know how to get
Right.
there. And that's when I have the greatest time where I can, not only coordinate the work in the schedule and source the materials for my clients, but then I can also help them to even think about additional design choices that they didn't even have on their radar,
Right.
and solutions that would work that they didn't even know about.
Right. And I had when I was I did residential remodel. I was a residential contractor and I did some remodel work as well. That's how I kind of started off. And it was very similar to you. And I learned I had to have three price rates. There was the rate for me to do the job. There was the rate for me to do the job while you watch and make comments, and then advice. And then there's the rate that is to do the job if you want to help, and you can't afford that rate. That's gonna, so, and because a lot of people say, well, give me a discount because I can pitch in, I'm pretty handy. I'm like, no, that's the worst idea ever. So, and I'm sure you probably run into that sometimes, right? You get the kitchen table master builder, right? Yeah.
All the time.
And a lot of times, I was telling, well, Trina Rogers, she was on a previous show with me, and I was telling her that one of the jobs I did at one time was fixing for real estate agents. I worked for real estate agents, fixing all the stuff in order to get a house through escrow that some person had done on their own. The weekend warrior who had just completely fouled things up, code violations, structural problems, bad plumbing. That's not because they didn't know what they were doing, and it's shocking. So I do encourage people, if you really don't know what you're doing, don't think a TV show taught you. Go hire someone that knows what they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. Hire me.
Yeah, exactly. It's your house. It's your home. It's the biggest investment you'll ever have, and you have to live there, and your family needs to be safe. So
Yes. It also helps to be able to guide homeowners through the permitting process, the inspection process. I mean, it's a lot more than just picking up a hammer and nails.
Well, and most people don't know where to go find a good plumber. They don't know where to find an electrician. They don't need to know where to find a drywaller. They don't know where to find a roofer. They don't know where to find any of those kind of things. If you hire someone that does this, they have a contact base of multiple people in each of those trades that they can use that have all been vetted and qualified because they worked on previous projects with that.
Yes, and so you have A level subcontractors, B level subcontractors, and C level. And depending on the project and depending on the budget, you kind of get the one that falls in your arena.
That's right. That's right. And as you mentioned, the budget is a big part of that. There is, part of the I guess the way minds have been poisoned in our culture is this idea of the lowest bid. It's the idea that all contractors are created equal and do the same thing, so you just have to get the one that's going to do it at the lowest price. And which is just ridiculous, because I think intuitively we all know that human beings are not the same as people, because they're all people. And not everybody is at the same level of experience, education, diligence, motivation, perseverance, experience. All that's different. Every human's a different person. And so why would you think that all contractors who are humans running a company would all be the same? So how could they possibly be all the same price? That, to me, that's just never made sense, but for some reason it's widely accepted.
Yeah, I usually tell my clients that I'm not going to be the least expensive subcontractor that you are going to find for your job, and I say that for a number of reasons. One is because I think now, especially with the homeowners, they are professionals, and they are accustomed to working in a well structured and well organized environment. And so when they come home and someone is in their home doing a project, they expect the business of construction to kind of run like the business of their jobs at home. And in our industry, a lot of knowledge is passed down from your dad or your granddad was a contractor, and I worked for him, and I grew up in the industry with him. And so sometimes some of that customer service skill set is lacking in some of my counterparts out there. Especially if you come from if you are a home builder and you try to get into renovation, these are two totally different types of construction models.
Absolutely. And so we got to take a short break, Dia. So let's finish that thought on the other side of this. We're going to take a short break. This is Building Solid Foundations. I'm talking to Dia Hunter about residential construction, and we're going to get into some other stuff right after this.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 951-378-5316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we're talking to Dia Hunter, and we were talking about Dia's background in residential construction remodeling. Right before the break, Dia was explaining to us that somebody who has done ground up residential construction isn't necessarily going to be very good at doing residential remodels because they are two different worlds. So Dia, I agree with that because I've experienced that myself. So go ahead and kind of enlighten our listeners as to why that's the case, because it may seem counterintuitive to people. If you can do ground up, why can't you do something that's already there and just fix it?
Well, there are a number of reasons why that's not the case. But in my world, we come into a customer who is already living in a space.
Right.
And so that is a completely different feel than I have an empty lot. I pour a foundation, I build up. The home is not occupied. Yeah, the owner might drive by to check on the progress of the site, walk in and look at the stud walls and try to figure out where things are supposed to go. But it is completely different when homeowners have access to your construction site 24/7. I mean, they might be there while construction is going. As soon as your subs leave for the day, they come downstairs and they micromanage and look for everything. And so you have to deliver a product and a service that leaves them without questions. And that is very difficult to do when you're used to doing volume construction. So it takes a lot. You have to be a lot more meticulous and detailed. You have to be a clear communicator with the customer, and you have to build trust because you're in their home, and you have to take care of their home. So you have to take some special considerations. You've got to do a couple of things just to keep their home separate from the construction site.
Right. And that's a huge thing because people are actually living in the construction site. And as you know, from construction, it's not the safest environment to be in, especially if you've got children around, you've got pets and those kind of things. And honestly, okay, so I work in construction and the industry has been really good to me. So I'm obviously a big fan, but I don't want to live next door to it. Right? I don't want the noise, the dust, I don't want all the stuff. But to live in the house while construction is going on is a massive inconvenience. It's a major disruption of your daily routine. You probably had to give up some space that they needed to, with whatever they tore the wall out to work on, whatever they're adding, that's area you can't use in your house right now. That's a major inconvenience. And so people get a little on edge. They're impatient. It can never be done quick enough. And also, as you mentioned, they will go through as soon as you go home for the day and with a microscope start looking at everything. And it's not so much a design build project as a build design. As you're building it, they redesign it on you every day because a lot of times they couldn't understand on the two-dimensional paper what it was going to look like in 3 dimensions when it was built.
That's absolutely true. I mean, you have to have a lot of flexibility and you have to have a lot of patience because you have to understand that owner doesn't have the same level of understanding that you do about space, about materials. And sometimes, how many times have we thought that something was a good idea, and it didn't turn out that way. And so one of the other things that I think is important is since COVID has occurred, more people are also working from home.
That's right.
And so the type of work that I do, we have noise considerations. And, while we're doing a remodel, someone is upstairs on a Zoom meeting,
right.
So there are a lot of different factors that you have to take into consideration with residential remodeling.
No, and you got to clean everything up every day because there may be kids around. And it's very difficult to keep kids out of fascinating places like construction sites where they may get in and want to hurt themselves with either, chemicals that are being used, sharp objects, heavy tools, whatever, materials. And all that's got to be considered when you're working in a place that people are actually living. Now, what ties this also, another side of this that people don't understand, and it kind of ties into what you do on your planning commission, is when you start doing heavier work, you actually need to get permission from your community to do that. And then it seems like, okay, but it's my property. Why can't I do what I want? Well, you don't want your neighbor building a 4-story Gothic tower because they think it really looks cool when your neighborhood is all single-story ranch house style homes. It ruins everything. It doesn't fit. You also don't want somebody buying the 2 homes next to you, tearing them out, and then putting in some kind of a pre-manufactured metal building auto shop or something. It doesn't fit there, right? So that's why we have those laws. I think everywhere except for Houston. Houston doesn't have any kind of like that. You do whatever you want there. But for most places, there's zoning laws, there's land use, and community planning. So you've worked both sides of this. As the contractor, you have to go get permission on behalf of homeowners for some of this. As the planning commissioner, you are there to interpret these things and either give or deny permission to people.
Yes. Yeah. So that is the greatest challenge that I have, is weighing whether or not someone who desires a particular use to occur, where that use has not been permitted before. So, for example, in our municipality, we have, several different zoning classifications, just like they do in every municipality, from residential, 1, 4, 2, 3, and all of those different categories just refer to the size of the structure on the lot in particular, or whether it's C1, which is commercial one, C2, which is commercial as well, but you can do different types of uses in that particular category. And so when someone comes in and an area is zone C1, and in C1, commercial one, you might find shopping centers and hair salons and all of that, and they want to use a C2 use. And a C2 use, depending on the particular use that you want to go into that zoning classification. So let's say you wanted a gas station, which could fall under C2. More than likely, you wouldn't get it because it was intentionally developed around the idea that we do not want gas stations in this particular area, and the community decides that. Because they start off with a master plan, and they say, hey, this is our comprehensive plan, and within the next seven years or so, we would like development to occur here. And they get citizens' input. They bring people together. They ask citizens, what are you looking for in your community? And then they try to build an idea of a plan that they want their community to look like. And then
the general plan. Yeah.
Yes. And then we have to make the decision on whether or not that object that they want to come in is what the citizens want.
Right. And it's really a matter of organizing the town into something that works. There's areas that are residential for single family homes, areas that are residential for multifamily. There's dense areas where people can live and work at the same place. There's areas that are designed more for entertainment, for restaurants and theaters and bowling alleys and those type of things. Yeah, and it's to organize a town and to make it, I guess, less chaotic, more desirable.
Yes. Usually, most municipalities always start off with some type of main street downtown. And that downtown area has higher density. But with higher density, you also have to have different infrastructure, right? You have to have sewer in order to be able to do that. But then if you want less density, you want, let's say, you want single family homes on 1 acre lots. Well, that's a septic tanks. So you don't have to take sewer all through a subdivision. And so you have to make all of those considerations when planning where you want development to go, because you have to have sewer there before you take business there.
Right, because you probably don't want an urban area where you have one square block that has one house on it because somebody has 5 or 6 horses out there. And that's, because now that's good. That's a great fit outside of town. That's a great thing to have, but it doesn't belong right next to the courthouse downtown. It's just, it's I guess an underuse, and it doesn't fit right. It doesn't seem to work. And not only that, it's not good for the horses either. So all the noise and the smog and everything. And that's what community planning does. One thing I learned in this early on is most communities are stronger with vibrant churches and vibrant schools, good schools and churches, but nobody wants them in their neighborhood because churches and schools bring traffic, they bring crowds, right? Everybody shows up at the same time, everybody leaves at the same time. Their activities can be very noisy. There's the football team playing on a Friday night and the band and all that kind of stuff. That's pretty disruptive if you're right next door to it and trying to watch your favorite show or whatever, or to sleep early. Same thing with churches. Larger churches tend to have lots of crowds and very big, noisy, disruptive kind of events going on. So those are something that everybody wants near them, but not next to them.
Well, Steve, I think one of the biggest gripes that I've heard in my time in planning commission is that everybody loves the idea of churches and schools, but what people don't also realize is that they take up an enormous amount of land, usually, and they don't pay taxes.
That's right. Yeah.
So that means that all of that land that you could have been collecting property tax on for commercial construction or residential construction to help to improve infrastructure, you don't have access to.
So with that, we're going to take another short break. We're going to pick up where we left off when we come back from this break. This is Building Solid Foundations. We're talking to Dia Hunter. We were talking about residential remodeling. We're talking about community planning. And we're going to get a little into the entrepreneurship side of this as well when we come back from the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Building Solid Foundations.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real men of real estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio. Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we're talking to Dia Hunter. We were talking about residential remodeling and construction, and now we've been talking about community planning and what it's like both on the getting permission side and the giving permission side for that, as Dia has worked in both those capacities. And Dia, when we left off, we were talking about things like churches and schools that every community wants, every community needs, but we don't necessarily want them next door to us. I think a lot about pickup and drop-off time at a school is insane. Or when there's a major school event, there's a school play going on, there's a recital, there's a sporting event, and you can't get parking. And if that's the night you wanted to have a little party at your house, it's too bad because none of your friends are going to park near your house because everybody's parked there to go to the event. This is what causes why with planning departments and why community planning is important to figure these things out. You also mentioned the tax issue. We say, okay, so what's wrong with that? Well, somebody's got to pay the police, someone's got to pay the fire department, someone's got to pay the road maintenance, someone's got to pay for the parks, the street lights. All that comes out of the taxes that the city needs to operate. And as you said, there could be multiple acres of land for a high school, and if you put that in the prime business district, you lost all that tax revenue.
Yes. And Steve, so in my municipality, unlike many other small towns, we have a school that is in the heart of downtown.
So it's probably an older school. Yeah.
School. And right now it's not operating. The school board closed that particular school down, and they have plans to renovate it and to open it back up. You know, we've had a lot of growth in the area, and they're anticipating an influx of students into the school system, and to offset that, they're talking about opening the school back up, which is very, very it's neat, like from the perspective of you're coming downtown and you see kids walking home with backpacks, you know, going to the local ice cream shop and picking up ice cream with their parents after school. That is a really, you know, community visually interesting thing to have. And then everybody who's coming home from work during that time, they're going to try to drive around the school, take an alternative route to get home because they don't want to get caught in the school bus traffic, and, you know. So right. It does alter how communities work and how communities flow. So it really has to be well planned out.
Right. And that's why most communities I've worked in do not have zoning for schools or churches. It's usually some kind of a conditional use permit type thing where you can put it in an industrial area, you can put it in a residential area, you can put it into a business district, but wherever it's going, you have to have a community hearing and let the public have some input into it and talk about how do we mitigate the traffic problems this is going to cause? How do we mitigate the noise problems this is going to have? Is this going to be a safe place for children to be walking back and forth to and from school? You know, all those issues have to be discussed as a community. And again, there's that whole balance of, but whoever owns the property, why can't they do whatever they want with it? And so we balance those things, you know.
Yeah, balance is good, and usually through the process of getting a school or a church into a place where it wasn't before, you know, we usually require a traffic study.
That's right.
To be submitted along with their zoning application so that we can see what the counts are, we can see what the potential impact will be on the roads, because, hey, more cars on the road coming to a place, that means that road is going to have to be repaired more often, and that changes the budget going forward. So there are there are numerous things that happen.
Yeah, it's also a matter of you do the traffic study also to make sure that you can get emergency vehicles through there at all times. You know, how do we mitigate those issues? So all that stuff has to be considered. And I think a lot of people don't understand what goes into the planning process. There's a lot of reports and studies that go in. It's not just let's draw a site plan up and see if we like it. There's traffic studies, noise studies, environmental studies that involve biology and plants, animals, cultural issues. We don't want to destroy historically significant things or culturally significant things in order to build new things, although sometimes we have to do something because whatever's there is falling down. It's a danger. All that gets balanced out in community planning.
Oh, yeah. I think one of my favorite things is when citizens say to me, like, I don't know what's going on in the town, but we really need a Ruth Chris Steakhouse right here in the community. Like, we need a good place to eat. They say that like we have control over which businesses are going to come into a community. Now we can set the zoning to allow restaurants. Property might be available, but it's an entrepreneur who has to say, I'm looking to bring a restaurant into your town. And this is where it's going.
It'll be a market study that tells them that. And the market study is going to look at the demographics of the area and say, okay, if you want a Ruth Chris, that means we have to have a median income of a certain amount because it's not a cheap place to eat, right? And then and maybe we want the Ruth Chris because one time I want to go there on my anniversary. Well, that's not going to justify the restaurant. You got to go to the next town over. But if there's enough people that would go there on a weekly basis, then the restaurant will build there. And right, so all these things come in, and that's separate. Those are business decisions made by independent companies. Yeah, and I remember working in a town where they had a list of what they wanted. There was a cheesecake factory on the list and things like that. I'm going, okay, well, they'll move in when the town's ready for it. So the person that has the influence is the people from the town that can write to that company and say, hey, it'd be really great if you had one of these. I'd be there at least once a week eating at the place. And if there's enough of those, they'll come into town.
That's correct.
Yeah. And I noticed another thing on the community planning, a lot of towns, they like the commercial because commercial produces taxes. And taxes pays for the police, it pays for the fire, it pays for the parks, it pays for all the stuff we need. They pay school fees, right? That keeps the town working, the operations of the town, all the services we need. But they don't really like the housing because housing, a lot of times property tax doesn't go to the local city. It'll go to the state, it'll go to the county, something like that for other purposes. It doesn't go into the directly into the city coffers a lot of places. So, and housing is a burden because the more people that live there, the more services you have to provide, where the businesses are providing income to the city, right? The problem is, as you mentioned, are you going to get the Ruth Chris or something in there if you don't have enough houses? You have to have the residential base. If you don't have 30,000 people in like a 2-mile radius, then they're not going to move in because it doesn't justify it.
Yes, the balance is tricky. I mean, it's very tricky because people want their privacy. They want to live away from other people, not be on top of other people, but at the same time, they want the same amenities that are available in a dense population like an urban environment. And you just can't do that. That's why you usually find boutique style restaurants in small communities, things that are not franchises, because there is a single entrepreneur saying, I'm going to come into this town. I like what I see in this town. I did the market study and the research, and it's enough to support my small business. And guess what? Because I have something that nobody else has, people are going to travel to this town to partake in that. And then now you created a memorable place. And then that usually drives people to say, you know what, I really like that community. I would like to move there. so you can drum up, new citizens by creating a sense of community. But it takes everybody coming together in order to do that.
Right. As you know, I have a company. We do land acquisition, we do planning, we do commercial and residential developments in a lot of different places. And I always find that the humorous irony is the people, as you said, they want all the amenities, they want all the great stuff real close by. They don't want any more people there. That I don't want more traffic. I don't want more crowds at the school. I like the town the way it is. I moved here because it's nice and quaint, but I also want all these businesses and amenities and services. And that's just, it can't happen. Right? What otherwise you end up with these businesses that move in, and then 2 years later you have empty buildings that they move back out of.
That's right.
So it has to be enough support for that. And as you say, the real winner is if you can get that entrepreneur that brings in something that becomes a destination. It becomes the place to go, but that's not very common. Those are rarities, actually.
Yes, and so it's funny because I think I have a personal philosophy that I manage the things that are in my household, and if I'm doing that well, then I get involved in my immediate community, my neighborhood. Then I get involved in my local community, like my city government. And then I continue to kind of move my sphere of influence outward. And I told you before that I'm an entrepreneur. One of the more interesting things that businesses that I run is I own a hair salon.
Okay.
And for somebody that doesn't have hair,
there you go. Yeah. That's about as laughable as me producing a fashion show, which I did. So,
so those. It's funny because I looked at the demographics in the area. I looked at where the closest salons were, and there was a need for one. And I partnered with someone who had over 30 years of experience in doing hair and managing salons. And I opened up a hair salon, and it's I think I've had it for, this is 6 years, and it's doing exceptionally well, and it's in my community.
That works.
So that's one of the benefits of being connected to your community, because there are things that people need, and if you're an entrepreneur and you like to create, then you have an opportunity to do that as well.
That's fantastic. So we're going to take another break. We're going to come back, and the next time I'm going to talk to you about balancing entrepreneurship with your family life and how all the stuff. How do you keep all that in play? This is Building Solid Foundations. We'll be right back. We're talking to Dia Hunter. Don't go anywhere.
Fire Up Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. Fire Up Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services, including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing, and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. Fire Up Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 95137855316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today I'm talking to Dia Hunter. Dia is a residential remodel contractor. He is also an educator. He works with me in higher education, teaching in the master's program for New School of Architecture and Design, and also in the master's program at Stevens Institute of Technology. He's also planning commissioner in his local town. And we were talking about his business, working as a remodel contractor, is working as a community planning commissioner in his local community and being involved in his local community. He also has a family. And that's a lot on the plate, a lot to balance in addition to all the teaching loads. So let's talk about entrepreneurship. One thing I learned early on in entrepreneurship, running your own business, you usually start as a kitchen table enterprise, and most people do it because, let's see, top 3 answers on the board if you remember Family Feud, right? There was, I want to be independently wealthy, I make my own money, right? Have plenty of money. I want to have my own time, right? Right? I want to be my own boss, be in control. Now, generally about 4 or 5 years into being an entrepreneur, you don't have any money because everybody gets paid before you do. You don't have control. Everybody's your boss. Your vendors, your customers, everybody's your boss. You don't get to do anything you want to do. And as far as time, you have flexible time. You can pretty much work any 20 hours of the day you feel like. That's kind of how it works, right? So you don't have any time, but you can work at 2 a.m., you can work at 2 a.m. So talk about how do you balance entrepreneurship with all community service, with your business and your family?
Ooh, that is an ongoing balance, trying to balance the balance. I find that I think early on in entrepreneurship, I thought that if I devoted equal amounts of energy and time to the various areas that I was engaged in, that was balance. And that's not balance. You know, balance is doing what's required now. And then that means that tomorrow something else might be required of you that requires urgency. Balancing, I have two 8-year-olds, and I have a wife who is a professional herself, and she runs a large service line at a local hospital. She's a psychologist in mental health. And so she has a very big job as well. And so without support of grandparents, without support of friends and family, in addition to being flexible within my schedule to be able to go and do things, especially for the kids and their development, and to be supportive for her. You know, you have to move chess pieces around all the time in order to make things work. And that's what I find to be the true balance of entrepreneurship and family. It's not equally split at any given time.
Yeah, I mean, I found that it's seasons. So, for example, people have to go back to school and get an advanced degree in order to move up in the career or do what they want to do. Well, there's going to be a season of time for a few years where you're just not going to be available very much for anything else because you have to focus on that. But that's for that time. And then you have to make up for that time later on by spending a little extra time with the family. But then you start a new job. There's going to be a season where you've got to get up to speed in that new position, right? And so everything kind of runs in seasons. Maybe there's a family emergency. Now you got to spend more time with the family dealing with that, making sure everybody's okay, and a little less time at work and put some other things onto the side. So I agree with you. The balancing isn't just every week I look at my calendar and I had the same amount of hours devoted to everything. It runs in seasons.
Yeah, it's funny. I looked at my calendar, and so I have maybe 5 or 6 different calendars that are all kept in one calendar, and each calendar is a different color. Mm-hmm. And so normally it looks like a pack of Skittles every week. You know, there's a rainbow of colors populating throughout my calendar. And one particular week, I had this big wave of blue in my calendar, and that's my family calendar. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what's happening with my family this week? And it just so happens that during this particular week, there was everything that was going on, and they required me to be there. And I was like, wow, I have to shift my priorities significantly this week in order to spend the time with the family. I was in a father-son golf tournament with my son. I was at a piano recital with my daughter. I had to go to my wife's had a work function, and I had to, be her plus one. In addition to, there was a doctor's appointment, dentist appointment. It was all over the place. And I just remember, sitting there and I had my laptop with me and I'm in the waiting room and I'm, working in between this. And it's what we do, right? Because ultimately we're grooming little people to become productive citizens in the world. We are also telling our spouse that they are the center of our universe, even though we spend more time at work and building this life than we do with them. So I think it's important for them to hear that they are the most important thing, even when we spend time elsewhere. And I think that when they ask for that time, we have to try to make some time in order to show them that they are the priority. And then at the same time, we also have these other community obligations so that people know that we're good citizens and we're good people and then we're good neighbors. So I think it has to be a healthy balance.
All right, I think that's a good way to address it. So, and that's I think why you've been successful as a business leader, a community leader, academic leader, and a family leader, kind of all at the same time. And we're all called to kind of do that concurrently. That it's just called life. That's what we do. Yeah. And it's getting a grip on it. And I think as long as we keep as you said, keep the priorities in line and work everything around it. So we're going to have to wrap up this episode. Dee, I want to thank you for your time and your insight on this program. I've always enjoyed talking with you. Of course, I've loved working with you for the past several years. And really appreciate you being here and sharing with our audience. This is Building Solid Foundations. If you miss us live on the radio, don't forget to download the free Building Solid Foundations channel app on Roku, Amazon Fire, or Android. It should be coming soon to Apple by the end of the year. We're getting that one put together as well. Or catch us on your favorite podcast platform. We'll be back next week right here on Building Solid Foundations. And until then, go do something different this week.
ProLogic Radio, your mind spring.
Give me less commercials. That's what we need.
KCAA Loma Linda.
Awesome radio station.
Hi, I'm food critic Alan Borgen, and I'm excited to tell you about Ray's Shanghai Bistro, located next to Redlands DMV on Lagonia in Redlands. Ray's Shanghai Bistro offers the largest and most delicious array of traditional and original Chinese dishes available in the Inland Empire. Some of my favorite dishes are the house-made pot stickers, the crisp pork spare ribs with garlic, their unique spicy lamb with bamboo, the sweet and tangy deep-fried orange peel beef, and the savory basil spicy shrimp, plus lots of vegetarian dishes. Whether you dine in, pick up the food, or have them cater your next party or special occasions, you will see why Ray's, spelled R-U-I', Shanghai Bistro, is truly the best Chinese restaurant in the Inland Empire. Their website is raysshanghaibistro.net. That's raysshanghaibistro.net. RUIS Shanghai